Hi there, welcome back to day 3 of the Julia Sew-Along. Today we're going to finish our camisole. You're going to have it all done just like this. So we are going to attach the fold over elastic, and we're going to create the straps and attach the ring and the sliders so that you have adjustable straps, and we're going to hem the camisole. Alright, so I wanted to give you just a few quick tips when attaching your fold over elastic. It can be a little bit finicky, and each machine is probably going to sew with it differently. So I wanted to tell you that the best trick in my book is always practicing. So I got some of the scrap pieces from the fabric that I am using and some fold over elastic, and I tried a bunch of different combinations of stitches to find out what would work best with this fabric and this fold over elastic. So what I discovered when I was trying to attach the fold over elastic with a standard zigzag stitch on your machine, I was having a lot of trouble with the fabric shifting and the fold over elastic shifting while I was stretching it to be even with the fabric. So of course I went to my manual. I feel like this is often an overlooked resource, and I discovered that it recommended a couple different stitches for attaching elastic. One was a 3-point zigzag and one was a 2-point zigzag stitch, and I discovered that the 3-point zigzag stitch worked really well for attaching my elastic. Something else that you could try if you're having trouble is a walking foot, because it'll help feed the elastic and the fabric through the machine for you. Alright, so there are a few marks that we need to add to our fold over elastic before we can get started attaching it to our neckline and the armholes and to create the straps. So you can find the measurements for the marks on page 6 in your instructions. I went ahead and marked mine, and I'm just going to show you quickly how I do that. I'll just show you with this one. So this is the neckband piece. Pretty simple. You just need to mark the center as I did. So I just pinched it, made sure it was in half, and then I like to use dry erase crayons to mark my fabric. So then you just kind of color it in, and then you have your marks. And I did the same idea with the long strap pieces. I had the fold over elastic, just trying to fall off my table. I had the fold over elastic face down, you know, I folded it over like so, 1 1/8 inch. This is for the back point, and I colored it in again just like that. You can measure with a ruler, with your cutting mat. I also have this little tool here, and once you have those, you can start by attaching your neckline piece. So I'm going to go ahead and get that pinned to my fabric. Alright, I wanted to show you some really quick settings for stitching or basting your elastic onto your fabric. I've tried a few different ones, and you definitely want to do a zigzag stitch, and I discovered this one on my machine is the one that works the best for basting it on. It's called a 3-point zigzag stitch, so I'm going to select that one, and I'm actually going to decrease the stitch width and increase the stitch length for this basting stitch. Now you may need to play around a little bit with your machine on some scraps and some just extra pieces of fold over elastic to find out what works best for your machine. Alright, I just put my presser foot down, so I'm going to insert the needle to start, because you are going to be stretching the elastic only and not the fabric when you're attaching the fold over elastic. So I like to put my needle down so that when I'm tugging on it and just pulling it, it's not going to just release and come back. I like to start without stretching, just a few stitches, so that I can feed it through in the front and the back. That's when I've had the most success. I also like to pinch, if you can see this, yeah. I like to pinch where the pin is on the fabric without stretching the fabric, and only stretching it so the fabric is flat with the fold over elastic, and I kind of just pinch that to keep it flat on the fabric, and then I'm going to keep going. Alright, so now that we had it attached, we're ready to fold it over and top stitch it. I'm not going to use the same stitch. I'm not going to use the 3-point zigzag stitch. I'm just going to use a regular zigzag stitch to top stitch this. And my default machine settings have worked really well for me, so I'm going to stick with that. It's 3.5 stitch width with a 1.4 stitch length. And to get it started, I usually like to lift my presser foot just a little bit, because it's a little bit thicker because you have a layer of fabric and then essentially 2 layers of elastic that you are feeding through your machine. So I lift it up just a little bit to help guide it in, and then I back stitch a little bit, secure the stitch, and push it through again. Alright, so now that we have the fold over elastic stitched down, you're going to choose which neckline option that you want to do. For my daughters, I just kept it like this, so it was kind of a slightly scooped out neckline, but there's also an option to do the V-neck, which is what I'm going to do for mine. So I'm going to fold it in half, and when you hold it kind of so that the fabric is folded in half, try and get in so you can see this. You can kind of see how it comes out just a little bit. So you're going to kind of just keep the line the same and just stitch straight up. So you're going to put just a few straight stitches in, and you're going to follow the fabric straight line. You can kind of see it there. It's a few stitches right there. It's in the instructions as well. It might be easier to see there, but I'm going to go ahead and do that. Alright, so now you can see what that's going to look like. It's going to be a bit of a V-neck. Alright, so now we're going to get to attaching our long elastic pieces to create the straps and the armhole. Alright, so here's another thing that helps. If you are having trouble with your fold over elastic, it helps if you pin in smaller sections. So here I pinned at the neckline, and I also pinned at the back where the marks were. And then I found the center of the elastic between those 2 marks, and I pinned that. And then I also found the center of the fabric between the 2 ends as well, and I pinned it in another place. If you wanted to, you could even do the same thing. You bring the elastic together at the pins, and then you find another center, stick a pin in there, and then you're going to want to do the same thing with the fabric. Again, put your pins together, fabric together, then you found the other center, and then when you put your pin, do it like that too at the same time. So now you have the center here and the center there, and you can just pin those together so that you have smaller sections to stretch as you sew. That makes it a lot easier to attach. Alright, so I'm back to my machine. I am going to attach the arm and the strap fold over elastic the same way that I attached the neckline piece. I'm using the 3-point zigzag stitch again with the same settings of 4 and 1.6. All right, now we have it on, so now we're going to fold it over. And this time you're going to fold over the entire length of the fold over elastic. So you're going to start at the very beginning of it, and you're going to go all the way to create the strap. So you're going to zigzag stitch all of it. Okay, so now we are ready to attach the ring because we have sewn both of the straps on, and what you're going to do is you're going to fold the small piece in the back where it's got a point. You're going to fold it to the wrong side and you're going to pin it, and then I use a narrow zigzag stitch, and I use a 2-2, so it's 2 stitch width, 2 stitch length, and I like to go right along the edge and just kind of encase that raw edge of the elastic with the zigzag stitch. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to install the slider portion for the adjustable straps so that you'll be able to lengthen and shorten your straps on your camisole. So here's a slider. This is the top opening and this is the bottom opening, and this is like the center bar. So you're going to put the slider on through the top part of the opening and then the bottom part. So you can see the top part of the slider, and there's the underside. So I'm going to slide that up, and then you're just going to loop the strap through the ring. So now you're going to take this part and you're going to put it through that center bar. So I'm going to pull some of this out so that I've got room. So then I'm just going to take it and I'm going to push it through. I just use my nails to kind of push it through. You can use a pair of tweezers, or I've seen some people use like a needle and thread to actually guide it through. And then you're just going to stitch this part down. So this is the part that just looped through the center bar, and you're going to stitch this down and to secure it. And that's your strap. Okay, the last step in finishing your camisole is for hemming. Now I'm going to use my cover stitch machine. It's not necessary for you to use one, but I have one and I don't know what I would do without it. It makes hemming such a breeze. So I highly recommend one if you do a lot of sewing for yourself or your family. If you do not have one, what I would recommend is this is called Wonder Tape. So it's sticky on both sides. It's kind of like double-sided tape. It washes away, but it will help you fold your hem up and secure it in place without having to use pins. It also stabilizes it. And you're going to hem it with a zigzag stitch on your sewing machine if that's what you're going to use. To fold it up 5/8 of an inch, you can use a couple different tools. There is this Easy Hem ruler where it gives you all sorts of, there's 5/8 inch there. You just fold it up and then use the Wonder Tape and measure it that way. I typically use this, so I will put it on to 5/8 of an inch so that I know how much to fold it up. But I'm going to go ahead and just use my cover stitch. Okay, so I just finished hemming and I gave my hem a quick press so that I got out all the waves, and we are finished! Congratulations on sewing the Julia. I had so much fun doing this sew along with you, and I just wanted to thank the Fabric Fairy so much because I really enjoyed it, and I'm thankful that you asked me to do the sew along. And thank you to Jalie for the discount on the pattern, but also allowing us to use your pattern for this sew along. I had a lot of fun, and I hope you did too. I hope you learned a thing or two in your sewing, and even if you made mistakes like I did, use it as a learning opportunity, because if I quit after every mistake I made sewing, I wouldn't get to be with you here today doing this sew along. So happy sewing!